mastered strategic planning in your corporate role, the quarterly forecast, the KPIs, those endless PowerPoint decks. When you think about transitioning to consulting, your instinct is to approach it in the same way. But here's what I learned the hard way. Your expertise in corporate planning could actually be sabotaging your path to freedom. When I left my corporate planning role, I thought I had it all figured out. I had the most detailed business plan the Small Business Development Center had ever seen. 5-year projections, competitive analysis, risk mitigation strategies, the works. And you know what? That meticulous plan led me straight into a business that I grew to dread. Today, I'll show you what to do instead. In this episode, we'll look at what you do need to plan for before you start, so the result is a business you absolutely love. Let's look at how traditional business planning can trap you. In corporate, success means hitting your numbers. So naturally, when planning my first business, I started with revenue targets, market analysis, and growth projections. Sound familiar? I executed against that plan, but was missing the sales targets, so I hired more sales staff. I started to attend trade shows and networking events. I hired more staff so I could spend more time on sales. I worked harder. I tweaked the product. I perfected it. I bundled the products to make them even better. I had a solid business case, and I was deep into the grind, going after those targets. But here's what I didn't plan for. Working 18-hour days, 7 days a week, years, without a day off. Giving up my hobbies, never seeing my family, and losing the very freedom I wanted when I left corporate. Think back to those endless strategic planning sessions you sat through at corporate. What questions did you answer when you built out that 1 year and that 5-year plan? You likely would look at products and margins and cash flow, headcount, investment forecasts. But you know what questions those sessions never start with? They never start with, how do you want to feel when you wake up each morning? Or what does an ideal Tuesday look like for you? So rather than starting with the payback period on your initial equity investment, let's start instead by looking at why you left corporate in the first place. Did you want location independence, more time for yourself and your family, a lifestyle that excited you, or all of the above? I left corporate wanting greater freedom and handed myself a job worse than the one I initially had, and I was my own boss. The breakthrough came when I realized I was using my corporate toolkit to build another corporate cage. Instead of starting with market size and SWOT analysis and revenue projections, what if we started with life design? Picture your ideal day, not the aspirational someday version, the actual Tuesday you want to live next month. What time do you wake up? Are you doing school drop-offs? What hobbies do you want to enjoy? What does your morning routine look like and your evening routine? When do you take your first client call? How many hours do you want to be in deep work mode? For my current business, I started here. I knew I wanted location freedom. I wanted to be able to run marathons and do triathlons and travel and spend a few months per year with my parents in the U.S. I didn't want to cook. I wanted a home office. I wanted to work with focused time for creation and execution, and the ability to say no to projects that didn't excite me. Only then did I design my service offerings and client engagement model. The shift from corporate planning metrics to life design doesn't mean that you abandon your analysis skills. Instead, we're going to apply them, but differently. Rather than, how can I grow revenue 30% year over year, ask, what revenue do I even need to support my ideal life? And what service model delivers that? Let's talk about your expertise. You've spent years developing deep knowledge that companies or individuals desperately need. But packaging that expertise starts with understanding who your ideal client is and what their constraints are. Remember my first business that had me working 24/7? I was selling an information product to corporations that was published every 2 weeks. That meant that every week I either had a due date or I had a due date coming up the next week. I had built a business that required me to be constantly working to deliver on my promise. I wasn't just missing the numbers, I was missing the point. I was eroding my quality of life, my happiness, and my own well being. What I discovered when I eventually closed that business and pivoted to high touch consulting was that my clients didn't want to read a report every 2 weeks anyway. And that's why I was missing my targets. They didn't have time. They preferred to pay me per hour what they previously paid me per year to hear the insights that mattered to them on a call. In the coming episodes, we'll get deeper into building out your products and services so they fund the life you want. But for now, let's recap. Start by designing your ideal life, not your business plan. Define your non-negotiables for time, energy, and lifestyle. Let your service model flow from how you want to work. Design your business processes to protect your ideal day. Your business has to fit into a life you love, or it's simply not worth it. You didn't rise through the corporate ranks to build yourself a cage. Your expertise deserves a business model that serves your life and not the other way around. Most people that leave jobs to start a business really are leaving to start a life. So make sure you plan that well. I'm Melissa Marchand, helping accomplished professionals build consulting businesses they love. If you know somebody ready to make this transition, please share the episode with them.